9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Shrink this down to size. There we go. Okay, I've played this player twice and then I've won both games. So, it should be a good learning experience. Not even sure I need to take that. Bishop c4, I'll jump back here. Am I supposed to play e6 or d6? Probably both at some point. And we'll see how the team does, whether or not we need the berserk. I did berserk a couple of games when I was playing last week. If I castle right now, I'm expecting a Greek sacrifice. So we need to watch out for that. Yeah, let's just play h6 preemptively. Guard that g5 square. Go to b6 or to c7. Now, I'm not actually threatening the d-pawn because they still have this bishop to h7 trick. So we got to keep watching out for that move. We've got a little pressure on the b-pawn. Finish our development. Do we want to exchange? Probably not. But do we want to allow him to take? Also probably not. Looks like we are going to exchange here. Rook b1, maybe queen a5. Target these two weak pawns. Yeah, if he took with the knight, we were going to just trade. So it's hard for me to develop my bishop. But we've got a better pawn structure. So the next task is to get this bishop involved somehow. Don't really want to play f6. I'd like to play b6, which says that maybe my queen belonged on c7 this whole time. We'll drop back here for the moment. b6, bishop b7. Rook might come to d8 because our a rook wants to be on the c file. f5, pawn takes, rook takes, queen check, king over, check. Can we get away with f5? Seems very risky. But I think so. Our king might be running back to the center. So now the question is, do I take with the bishop and run up to f7? Or do I take with the rook and run to f8? I'm going to take with the bishop. Maybe later I can play e5 and get this bishop out. Not a super comfortable position, but we're not getting checkmated. I'd still like to play b6 and bishop to b7. Yeah, this bishop is definitely our problem piece here. Okay, so now we're on the run. But our bishop's defending the g7 pawn, which is nice. So we got weak light squares, but we're defending all the dark squares. I don't see a great way for this rook to join the attack. And now bishop to d7 and rook to h8 actually traps the queen. Okay, now we're not trapping the queen. That was a good move. Because our pawn is pinned right now, so we can't recapture. So next turn I'm expecting bishop captures. All right, we'll go here. We can keep running, but I think we're running out of room. This move doesn't work because of bishop captures and the discovered check. Looks like the end of our line here. All right, we'll go back and look at that game after the tournament. Let's jump back in there quickly, since it is a team event. And see if we need to start berserking already. At least we lost that in about 10 minutes instead of 25. These games can really start to drag on whenever it's an even game, and neither person's berserked. Santa Barbara already jumping out to the lead. "46 people in, so not a huge tournament at the moment, so pairings are going to be slightly slow. I think the last couple of times it ended up being around 60 players. See who all is playing tonight for Alabama. Okay, both the Bachus. Tom's in there, Sam's in there, Joseph, Hartwell. Okay, so recognize quite a few people, and it is a full team. 13 people, so we just need 5 people to have a good night. Okay, 1,500. Let's berserk and try and grab 3 points. I played this player once before, and I checkmated them with the black pieces. They didn't berserk back, so we will have a little bit of waiting here. Even here on move 3, taking their time. So even though we're not super familiar with this opening, we need to play it pretty fast. The worst thing that can happen when you're berserking someone and they don't berserk is you get into time pressure. Because then the opening really doesn't matter. They've got increment. They can just run you out of time. And 1,500 means that they can convert good positions. Bishop d3. Probably just play e5. Bishop d3 is a little unusual, though. I like to play this bishop to e7 first. Especially without the knight going to b3. Maybe my bishop even comes out to g4. I think black's got a fine position already. White's pieces are not really coordinated in a normal way. Let's play an immediate h6, even before castling. Queen d2 super fast. Okay. How about b5? Queen d2 and kingside castle. Let's guard the d5 square. And we're going to just snap that off. Now there are ideas of a discovery or a fork at some point on the e-file. Interesting. This rook is a little bit loose. Okay, this should win a piece. The rook was defending that square for the moment, so I was thinking about putting my queen on d7. We're on the rook, so they can't recapture this pawn. Yep, they notice. Do we even want to take that pawn? Or do we just continue our development? Let's draw the king out. How do we get our knight over there? Maybe to the e5 square? Should also consider just activating the queen, yeah, before they take control of the e-file, was what I was going to say. They offer a draw, I think we'll decline. We've been able to keep our speed up this game. So I'm not too worried about the clock yet. Maybe we just jump to c5 now. And they resigned. Perfect. All right, let's get back to the tournament. We got our 3 points. That means that Alabama's in second place. And we're in 6th place overall. Don't think we got much rating for it. But Monday nights are never very good for our rating. I somehow gained some rating last week, but it's all luck. See, Alex is in first. We do have a 1-game winning streak against him now, after quite a few losses. And here we go. And we are not going to berserk. Goring Gambit declined here. And Queen b3 is what I've been playing. Hey, Opsai, it's going well. How have you been? Finally all set up in the new place, so I didn't post a schedule this week because I figured some stuff would likely come up like it always does, but we have returned. It has been a little while, yes. I actually got set up and started the stream a couple different times on different days, but had some technical issues at the new place. Okay, I don't mind him taking this bishop. Unisolates my pawn. Knight to d5, I hit the bishop, but he can come back to d6. I could go knight to b5. I'm on c7. That seems interesting. Let's try that. I'm on c7. There's also an idea of bishop captures c6 if I want to go after that a7 pawn. So if I want, there's bishop takes knight. Yeah, that's not great, though, because if I open the b file, these pawns will really become a target. But I think we are going to snap this guy off. And then push, or take, or just defend. Yeah, let's just defend the pawn. He's got both knights on it. Okay, he's going for the c file. Makes sense. I'm thinking about playing g4, which would be a little bit crazy. But where's his knight go? I don't mind if it goes to h4. Let's try it. Last time I played Alex, I was able to get him under a lot of time pressure in a complicated middle game. We already have a lot of pieces off the board here, though. Sicilian Dragon. Okay, we can do that. Had a Sicilian Nosdorf last game. So we got lots of Sicilians in. Can't use this square. This pawn's more protected now. Probably want to activate my other rook at some point here. I don't think I'm going to go after the a-pawn anymore. Just push. Knight b3, rook to c3. I can push again if I want. Strange position. The further this pawn goes, the weaker it becomes. So that might be an issue for me. Oh, wait. If the knight moves now, I push the pawn. Does he have to watch out for the b7 pawn? Yeah, we've got a little idea here. I think we take there to start. And we're actually controlling all three of these squares from the knight. Did you not redeem it properly? It says, choose next opening, and you said Sicilian Dragon. Yeah, it looks correct to me. Okay, we'll take here. We'll grab here. He has back rank issues he's got to be careful of. Yep. We're giving him a good game again. I can't protect the b pawn without putting my rook on the really passive a5 square. So instead, I'm going to do this. And I am up a pawn here. I'm up 2 pawns, but I'm going to lose the B pawn, I think. Is there any way for me not to lose the B pawn? Doesn't look like it. So now, let's see what we can do with this extra pawn. I'm going to throw in this check. And my idea is to make it so that f7 is not defended. And also I'm thinking about pushing and trying to get a fork of these two pieces. If I push again, my bishop can defend from a good square like g3 perhaps. And I don't think I have any losing chances here. Twitch is bugging out for you? Strange. I don't see any problems on my end. Yeah, so now there's the idea of me defending the pawn. But which way do I want to defend it from? Because I can also try and go around and defend it from c7. Yeah, famous last words. That's very true. He has a knight, so anything could happen. If I offered a draw now, I would not be surprised if he accepted it, though. Yeah, I feel like I want to defend from in front of the pawn. So now I've got ideas of pushing the pawn if his knight moves, moving the rook with check, and then pushing again. Well, I can just make his knight move now. Oh, but if I do that, then the rook's going to capture. Yeah, that's not ideal. He can now cut off my king. But his knight is well controlled. Maybe I need to run my king up to g3. If I can defend this pawn with the bishop, then my rook can kind of go to other places on the board. He's down to 1:30. Okay, if I push, the knight moves. I push. Knight moves somewhere again. Rook check, king takes, queen, rook takes, bishop takes. I guess I'm not trading well in that position. Okay, right now it's hard for him to move anything. So let's go here to start. King steps up. That move makes sense. I think what I want now is to just move this rook way somewhere else. Where's that knight going? So rook here, king steps up. Check. King goes back. 5 minutes. I've got enough time. I should be able to stop and think here. You recently bought Silman's Reassess Your Chess. That's a good book. Psychopaths of the chessboard is how he describes knights, especially in short time controls. Okay, he's down to 45 seconds. Yeah, so that move makes a lot of sense because he's trying to set up a drawn position. So the position he's going for is knight takes f3. Check. I can't run this way or I get checkmated. So I run this way, and he goes knight to h2 check. Oh, he doesn't have knight takes to h2 check, though. Because when I push this pawn check, my bishop's defending that square. So after knight check, king over, he doesn't have another check. So check. He makes a move, and I promote. Check. Knight blocks. Rook takes, pawn takes, promotes. And I've got an extra piece. And my bishop defends. Okay, so now I've got a bishop for the pawn. I'm not sure how winning or not winning this is, actually. But that definitely seems like my best route. Now we want to keep my pawn as safe as possible. Okay, that didn't quite work, did it? So, do I try and get my bishop to attack g7? We might be up a piece, but it might just be a draw now. See if I can attack g7. So rook here. Actually, I'm going to go here and try and get behind. And now my idea is bishop captures pawn. Bishop captures pawn. Rook takes, bishop takes. Bishop captures pawn. Rook check, king moves. Attacking the rook. And then we attack the rook. And now I've got the bishop versus the pawn still. But can he save his pawn? He can't. So now we have rook versus bishop, which is a technical draw, but the person with the bishop has all the real winning chances. So we want to avoid a rook trade. And we want to start cornering his king. So first we try to avoid as many checks as we can. And then we're going to try and cut him off row by row. And I think we're probably going to end up winning on time. Move the rook. We're going to push him back another rank, or another file in this case. And I'm going to use my bishop to defend my king. That way my king can get closer. So here, and now if check, we're going to block with the bishop. And then we get to push him back another rank. Oh, I let him off. Now we got to start over. How many moves has it been? I got to make sure we don't get to 50. So right here was, so we got until 112, I guess. Oh, we still got lots of moves. Okay. So let's walk our king closer again. And that's checkmate. Wow, what a game. That was so close. Okay, back to the tournament. We'll have to go back and look to see if we missed any better chances there. Kind of got quiet at the end, but had to concentrate. All right, Alabama's in third. We have 5 points. 55 minutes left. Things are going well. That brings us back up to 2177, gaining back some points. Thank you, DDJno. All right, Dr. Butter. 1800. Do we berserk in 1800? I'm 1-1 against him, so no. What happened in the game I lost? I had the white pieces. Oh, so we're actually probably playing into the exact same opening. I'm trying to look at that pawn structure. That is a weird pawn structure we had in that game. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's the same opening. Okay. We're going to play into it again, though. Maybe we'll be able to improve. I think here I'm supposed to just go after the bishop. So with this move, I can't give them the weakened pawns that I normally do. I could take on the h-file. Yeah, I guess I can take on the h-file, and that's just a pawn. Do I take with the pawn or the knight? Probably the knight. That's usually the correct way. At least whenever they go back to h7, it is. So I'm likely going to get a position where I'm up a pawn, but my pawn structure isn't great. And I've had trouble converting these. Yeah, because they like get this knight on this square, and I need to get rid of that knight right away. Bishop h3 seems reasonable. Can't let that knight stay there. It's too strong. Too strong of a piece. But I can't keep the pawn either. Like if they play something queen h4, they've got rook takes h5 coming up. Okay, so we eliminate the knight, and now we don't have that much worse of a pawn structure. So I like that. I can go rook to g1 and attack that g7 pawn. That looks powerful. Queen f3 maybe to attack this pawn. Oh, he's just going to give me g7. We're going to take it. That seems like a valuable pawn. And now I have ideas of trying to push h6, h7, rook g8. That seems pretty good for me. So I can still play h6. They're going after h2. I could also play bishop to f4 and defend. If I go bishop f4, they can play rook takes h5. I can play rook g8 check, and they can block on f8. Not sure about that. Bishop f4. Oh, bishop f4 just drops the bishop. So let's not do that. I could also come back with my rook and defend. I'm glad we didn't berserk. We also have the interesting move bishop to g5. But then I have to worry about the g1 square, which is defended by my rook right now. So which pawn's more important, the h2 pawn or the h5 pawn? Yeah, I'm thinking queen f3. Queen f3, bishop f4, queenside castle. Something like that. Although queen f3 and I just dropped the d pawn. That's not great either. So we could go queen to d3, queen takes h2, queen f3 then. Then they can take on h5. Okay, this looks safest. I don't know if it's best, but it looks safest. I'm just worried about my king getting checked on the back rank after the h-file opens up more. Okay, and he says he doesn't care about the f-pawns. Fair enough. I guess I don't care about the h-pawns. Ooh, but we have a fork now. Bishop here, queen captures, queenside castle. Can I get away with letting him check me on the back rank? Like bishop g5, queen takes h2, bishop takes d8, queen check, king moves, queen takes. I move bishop. Yeah, that seems unnecessarily risky. So let's scratch that. Bishop to g5, queenside castle might just be good though. And just save my rook before I take his. You think I could have gotten away with queen takes f5? Queen takes f5 here. I was worried about queen to h2. But maybe I'm just being scared of nothing. After queen takes h2. And just let him check me on the back rank. Okay, this is interesting. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to get the castle here with that check. Okay, and he's just going to give me this rook. Because he really wants to play this check. Yeah, I can't allow knight to c4 check. That just looks game ending. I'd have to worry about b2 also. Still have ideas of playing h6, h7, and rook to g8 later. Should be back now. Yeah, it said we disconnected for a second there. Okay, he decides to take on h5, letting me take on d8. We're going to take it. And then my thought was I can just guard the f-pawn. If the queen checks, I've got queen to e3, which is to hold everything together. Yeah, everything should be back up and running now. If he takes... Okay, so now we go here. We'll retake with the king if needed. Rook e1. If I play rook e1 and he plays rook takes f7, so you're thinking just... Or rook takes f2, just give him the f-pawn. So rook takes f2, the king moves, and then he has... Maybe he doesn't have anything else. He gets the f-pawn, but maybe he doesn't have anything more than that. But I like my f-pawn. I can take his f-pawn here. And his other f-pawn should be falling also. Do we push or do we move our king? Okay. I think we push because I don't want his rook getting to the c3 square and targeting my c2 pawn. And now if he plays rook to h2, I'll play rook to f2. And I want to play rook to g1 next. See if he notices a little checkmate threat. I really like how this knight is just stuck. Has no future in the game. Can't go this way. I guess he could go out through e7. Right, I don't even have to play rook to f2. I can just play my rook to g1 idea right away. Exactly. Yeah, much better than defending my c-pawn. Yeah, we can do whatever we want now. Now that our king is safe. Lots of ways to win. Okay, and he just resigned as a result. All right, and I told this person... I don't know who that is. It's not someone that I said I'd let in. Okay, so where are we? We are 9th overall. We're on a 3-game winning streak. Alabama's sitting in 5th, though. Yeah, anytime I have the most points on the team, you know we're in trouble. Hey, Eric. What's our performance so far? 22-53. Just that first loss against that tough player. Lost against them 3 times in a row now. But it took us 12 losses in a row against Alex to get a win. So just a matter of time. Okay, up to 57 players. So the pairing should be happening any moment now. Sword of the Sword 16. And I have not played this player, but they are routinely at the top of the leaderboard, playing for Palm Beach Chess, and they are streaming. So we'll have to check out their perspective later and see what they have to say for the game. Okay. I've not played this very much, this variation. So am I just playing d6 anyway here? No, because I want to play bishop b4 check. Or bishop b4 pin at some point. I have not had much practice against the Smith-Morra of late. Am I worried about them just playing e5? Knight f6, e5, knight to g4. Knight to g4. They have to defend again. d6 is looking a little bit tender then. I mean, am I exchanging right away here? I'm going to. Not the happiest position, but we are up a pawn. Thanks for stopping by, Eric. Looking to pin that knight, but I think I just castle and put the rook on the e8 square. That doesn't seem too bad for me. I can use this f5 square for my knight also. But he can play g4 right now. Then I have knight h4. That seems comfortable. We're down to 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay, that's a move that makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking about just playing d6. I need to find a way to get this bishop into the game. Or do I just play d5? That might be the way to go. d5, pawn takes, knight takes. No, that doesn't work. They've got bishop takes, h7 check at the end. We don't want to lose our queen. I would like it if my queen could get involved off the back rank. This rook needs to defend the rook on the e file. All right, let's get off the d file ourselves. Well, if I do that, queen c7, bishop takes f5, pawn takes f5, they can throw their bishop into d6. That looks pretty annoying. So let's scratch that idea for the moment. I guess let's just continue with b6, bishop b7. Remember, I am up a pawn, so if we lose a pawn back, it's not the end of the world. As long as we make it challenging for them. What about just knight a5? Try and use that c4 square, offer the trade of bishops. That seems strong. And And now I'm fighting for the d6 square. So can I just play d6 now? Or do I play d5? d6, pawn takes, knight takes. So d6, pawn takes, knight takes. Pin, my knight moves somewhere. Maybe even back to f5. And now we have the extra pawn with no weaknesses. So just back to f5 is my thought. Queen c7. Or queen e7. Not queen e7. Queen c7. Yep, this knight might have to bounce around a bit. But I can even use like the d5 square. This is looking a little dangerous, though, because of the h-pawn. Yeah. Because of the h-pawn. Exactly. So do I go for a queen trade? Queen there. Queen takes knight. I go check. They bring the queen back. That's not ideal. Knight here. Bishop. Queen. Pawn push. I'm actually on that knight. So that could be good. So let's save this knight to start. And then ideas of queen to f4 and try and trade queens. Queen trade would be pretty nice here. Got to watch out for this rook appearing on d7, though, in some positions. Yeah, so like here, I think I still go queen captures, though. Yeah, and then my thought is knight takes, but knight takes isn't any good because of queen takes there, end of the game. So I guess we're just boring and we defend the f-pawn. Well, we got almost 6 minutes, so let's take our time. I guess the next question is, do we care about the f-pawn? Is that a pawn that's worth defending? Probably. But what if I take the c-pawn? The games are going well. I couldn't play a dragon here because they played the Smith-Morra Gambit, but we do have another Sicilian going. Okay, what about just f5 here? f5, pawn takes, queen takes. Yeah, this looks like a very aggressive solution. Position's getting pretty crazy here. I mean, knight takes e6. We take on d5. Knight takes. No, that has to be good for me. Going after the g7 pawn, but I can take the c pawn and defend that. Gotta be a little careful, though. The queen is on my rook. Very complicated position. Okay, so they saved their rook. They're still on g7. But now my knight can go do something else, too. I can also chase their queen around. Is that worth anything? Their queen does not have a lot of places to go. I attacked the queen. It probably has to go all the way back to g2. We attack this way instead. If I attack this way, I'm giving up some control over the e6 pawn. Once the queen runs away, not really, because the queen's still going to be on this rook. So we just got to be really careful of e6 anyway. Hey, hallelujah, cat. Rook takes e6. If they play rook takes e6, I think they're going to run into problems after I check them on the back rank. That looks really dangerous. They can't go to g2 because of the fork, and h2, I've got another check or something. So it looks very dangerous. Yeah, they go all the way back to h1, in fact. Okay, I've got the increment, so that's a good thing. But how do I continue pressuring them? Knight here guards the e-pawn, and I threaten some forks. I don't even know if I'm threatening any forks, but I'm threatening some checks, which look dangerous. Yeah, this is a position where we both need an hour on the clock to figure out what's really happening. This check probably doesn't do much. This check is defended for the moment. Could they have played knight takes e6? They might have been able to at some point. That's the move I've been trying to prevent. But just because I've been trying to prevent it doesn't mean I have successfully. So I want to play check here pretty badly. That would be nice. Maybe we just attack the knight for now. Not sure. We're running low on time. They don't have any increment, though. So they literally have 1 minute and 45 seconds. I'm still getting 5 seconds each turn. Where's that knight going next? I need to get this rook off of the a8 square so that there's not queen takes a8 checkmate at some point. Okay, now I have this check. So I didn't think they wanted to play that move. Now I wanted to take that knight. It's too bad this pawn's here, because queen to a6 would be a real nice check to be able to throw in at the right moment. Free knight or not? I'm going to take it. The answer was no, not really a free knight. Yeah, now I'm going to have the knight and rook versus the queen. So this looks very challenging. Well played. Well played by my opponent. I think we had chances there. Probably were winning at one point. But I couldn't keep the H and G files closed, and so they always had counterplay. Yeah, I had to find a way to trade queens or get rid of that knight without that threat on G7. Maybe I couldn't allow H6. Every move was getting worse. Yeah, it felt like it. It was just slipping away one move at a time. All right, piece set, you said Stonti plus lime green board. Lime green board. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's our piece set. Board theme, lime green. Green plastic, marble, green. Which one is lime green? Just the green plastic, I guess? All right, this is the player we faced in round 1. Okay, good. So we got the right one. Okay, so he plays bishop to d3. Interesting. I've seen this in other people's games, but I don't think I've ever played against it yet. Oh, the lighter one? Okay, I can change that. There we go. Okay, castles. We're going to just fianchetto and castle ourselves. I don't mind the bishop on c2 since it's really just looking into my pawns. It's not a big deal at this point. He played h3 to prevent bishop to g4 because my bishop doesn't have a great square, especially since he didn't go queenside. I probably want to expand on the queen side, though. So probably a5 also at some point. Okay, he plays d4. So So now the decision is whether or not I want to relieve this tension. Do I care if he plays d5? I guess that's what determines it. I'm going to say no. If he wants to play d5, I think I'm okay with that. I don't have any heavy pieces on the c file yet, a queen or a rook. So opening the c file right now probably doesn't benefit me too much. Okay, now I might have to capture. Unless c4 is good for me. But I don't think so. Queen c7, pawn takes, bishop. Do I have any discoveries with the knight? No, he's on my rook, so. Got to make a couple trades here. But this does allow this bishop to get active. Yeah, and he just shuts down that diagonal right away. Makes sense. I'm going to play a6, make sure this pawn's not too loose. And probably rook c8 next. Thank you for the follow. Okay, I can push this whenever I want to open the c file further. I don't think I do at the moment. Need to find a better square for this knight, I think. Or maybe just activate this rook a little bit more. We do have queen a5. And then the threat is to push and go after the a pawn. But queen a5, b4, knight a4. And I guess he's fine. We could play knight to h5 and try and go for the g3 square. How does he deal with that? That looks pretty annoying. Attack g3, look for queen to h4. This could be an interesting kingside attack developing. And hoping for one more game after this. So they can bring their bishop back, but then if I want, I can use the f4 square. Queen to g5 coming up. Okay, interesting. So I can go straight in like this with the queen. I've got some ideas. So imagine a position like, let's say bishop h6, and there's an exchange. So his queen's on h6. Then I can play b4, the knight moves, and I can actually play rook takes c2 in that exact position. Because rook takes c2, I would take their rook for free on the back rank. No longer the case, but it was something to consider in the moment. Got to be a little careful I don't trap my own queen here. Or my knight. Bringing my pieces to the king side with all of these pawns already advanced does heighten the chances of us getting trapped. was trying to look for a way to play bishop to h6 with that skewer. But there's no way for me to guard this square without blocking the diagonal. Even if I do get it in, they can always block it themselves. What other tactics can we create here? He's got all these pieces on dark squares. I can't seem to take advantage of it. Still holding on to this b4 move for whenever it wins some kind of material. Oh, okay. And he runs away. Interesting. Okay, so now he's threatening to play g4 and try and trap my knight. So now I probably have to move my queen again. But he's making his pieces worse also in the process. So now if he plays g4, knight f6. And he can't play e5 because the e5 pawn would be too weak. So I feel like this transition is good for me. I feel like these pawns are weaker, and I don't think I've weakened anything in my structure. We just have to play patiently. Maybe, okay, here's an idea. King h8, knight to g8, bishop to h6. Doesn't work yet, but it is, again, that idea of us trying to get in on those dark squares against that queen and rook. Now I'd like to transport my queen back to this square. Do I just guard g7? He plays bishop g5, f6. Queen to h4, king to g2. Yeah, so now if I go queen h4, he has bishop to g5, which actually traps my queen. So that's what he's trying to do there. But I'm thinking, can I get away with f5 and trying to open up this position? Because his king is on the same diagonal as my bishop. So f5 feels thematic here. h5 not so much. Let's try and get that f file open. And now, depending on how this tension resolves, queen to h4 might be back on the table later on. I probably don't want to open the h file myself because rook to h1 is faster than my rook getting to the h file. Okay, so he's opening the g file. Interesting. Do we want a bishop trade? No, he defends the bishop. I don't think we get anything out of that. Let's step up. Because if I had played bishop f6, they play like h4. And again, if I exchange, the h file is going to open. And I don't want the h file open. So he's on the dark squares. I'm going to try and fight for these light squares. Now, if I can get him to exchange this bishop for my knight, I'll be pretty happy. Yeah, my queen has made a lot of not so useful moves this game. So rook takes c2. Something takes c2. And rook takes f5 looks really interesting. Yeah, this feels like a good moment to sacrifice the exchange. I don't know if it is, but it feels like it. Because now we're going to be taking on f5 with an attack on the light squares. And perhaps an attack on the g5 bishop also. So if the rook takes, I can play queen captures. So like this. And his queen's stuck because it's tied to the rook also. Bishop check. Knight takes, queen takes. Looks powerful. We also have bishop takes d4 right now because of this knight or this rook that's hanging. How good is that? I'd even take it with check. So seems like that would be pretty strong. And I've got good control over these light squares at the moment. I'm trying to overwork that queen. And now if we make this kind of exchange on f3 with check, this bishop will be more involved. I'll even have chances to play bishop e5 check, at least get the exchange back. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. This might end up being our last game. There's 6 minutes left in the tournament, and we have 9.5 minutes combined. If so, let's make sure this is a good finish. This exchange sacrifice back doesn't seem very good. Okay, we take with check. So now we got the exchange back. We're up a pawn. One other option here that I didn't even discuss was queen takes bishop. I thought about it in my head and decided it wasn't that great, but he blocks with the queen. Okay. Yeah, I think I want to keep the pressure on. Because the queen is still tied to the f3 square. I don't want to relieve that pressure yet. We've got this extra d pawn. One option, if his pieces are tied down, is just to push that pawn down the board. Okay, so he's going after this because the knight would be hit also. Interesting. So now if I play like rook here, then their rook takes check. Okay, so that seems like a good move by him. We didn't anticipate that. Although, what could I have done about it? Let's see. Here I could have exchanged queens and then moved my knight, I guess. So knight here, bishop check. So I guess we won the exchange back, and now we're giving the exchange back. Not really any choice. Yeah, we definitely underestimated bishop h6. Not really happy with the direction this is going. Hopefully his pieces are still tied down because of how exposed his king is. Maybe knight to h5 and into f4. I go knight here. He has check. Thank you for the subscription. He has check. I step up. Yeah, that seems okay. I'm going to try and get into f4 here. We each have equal time on the clock. Last game of the tournament. But even if I get the knight... Well, if I get the knight to f4, then queen c2 is more of a threat? Not really. This knight is doing such a good job defending. That knight sitting on g1. Okay, here's an idea. Knight f4, knight takes h3. And if the knight takes, maybe their queen is moved by then, and we take on f3. If that happens, that would just be winning. And now we've got a little bit of a time edge. Lots of great games tonight. Very instructive. Lots to learn from. Yeah, so I don't think they want to give the exchange back because I play queen blocking the check. And even if they get this pawn, I don't think they've got really any good winning chances there. Yeah, that knight made it all the way. Was that its starting square, though? Or did that knight come from the queen side? That's a good question. Where did that knight start? It was on e2. Where was it before e2? It was on c3. Yeah, it actually made the journey from the other side of the board. Yeah, rook check, knight captures, queen captures, check, queen to f2, and queen captures d6. I think that black is happy in that position. Even can steal the a-pawn if they want. The bishop's much better than the knight. My king should be a bit safer. Ooh, risky. Oh, interesting. So this stops knight to f4. And I can't move the knight with any good attacks to get on f3 because knight to e3 check, the queen captures and defends. We do have check here. That looks like a good check. check here. Then my thought was bishop to f3. But that actually doesn't work. Because bishop f3, rook e7, king h6, queen f8 is mate. I guess queen d7 is also a threat now. Because knight d5, queen d7, king moves, queen captures, queen check, rook here. There is knight to h5. Rook check, king over. Rook takes. Rook can't take. They could play queen check, knight back, then rook takes. I don't see it. I don't see a way to save this position. Queen d7 looks like too big of a threat. Yeah, not enough time for all the calculation. Nah, it didn't work. Queen takes his mate. Whew, that was a close one. That was a good game. Okay, back to tournament. Tournament ended. Alabama came in 5th. We ended up having a performance of 2169, so right about where we're at. We lost 2 games, but we did beat someone almost 2,500, so we should be happy with that.